this morning. Labour leaders tackle government as World Max Workers' Day. Rivers PDP reacts as SDP governorship candidate Magnus Abe drops petition at tribunal. APC invalidates suspension of party South-South Zonal Vice Chairman Victor Gyadom. Nigeria's fleeing conflict in Sudan yet to arrive Nigeria days after evacuation started. On the foreign scene, Turkey says suspected leader of Islamic State killed in Syria. I am Kala Dakuru Batubo. Good morning. Remember, peace is the path to the prosperity of any nation. Let peace reign. Now, as workers in Rivers join their counterparts to celebrate this year's Workers' Day with a parade today, the chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) in the state, Alex Agwanwo, says workers, especially civil servants in the state, have reasons to celebrate. As you may know, International Workers' Day, also known as Labour Day and often referred to as May Day, is a celebration of labourers and the working classes. The federal government has declared today a public holiday to mark the day. Mr. Agwanwo says this year's May Day celebration is different because the outgoing government has given some parting gifts to civil servants. He says that as a Labour leader, he will continue to put the welfare of workers before any administration.
Workers have a lot to celebrate, if not for anything, for this present administration. Just 48 hours after we came into power, the workers' promotion that have been held down for 13 years was released. It is enough celebration for all workers in Rivers State. And the government pronouncement of the 10,000 employment, which is already ongoing, and there is a change. So far as the labour movement in Rivers State is concerned, we are moving forward. The partnership with the government and the government willingness to look at the affairs of workers, we have all seen it. And very soon, I believe by the end of this next month, or even this month, workers will start getting their promotion benefits.
But the NLC National Treasurer Akim Ambali says the outgoing administration has inflicted heavy hardship and suffering on Nigerian workers. Mr. Ambali, who is also the president of the National Union of Local Government Employees, said workers have suffered job losses, insecurity, economic hardship, and other calamities under the Buhari administration. He said some governors laid off so many workers in the north, east, and west. Ms. Ambali said there has been a loss of lives as a result of banditry and kidnapping, especially in the southeast, southwest, and the Old North. On the spot, the former Port Harcourt Nupeng Zonal Chairman Godwin Aruba told correspondent Obi Oduwari that Nigerian workers have nothing to celebrate because the policies of the current administration have been unfriendly to workers.
The workers really cannot celebrate anything. They have never celebrated anything. The reason why I say this is because the incoming administration is also of APC. Then, of course, we have nothing to celebrate because all the policies of this government has been very to the life and the livelihood of the Nigerian workers. And I think, except there's a departure from what is on ground, then we have no reason to celebrate because for quite a long time, Nigerian workers have been frowning and groaning under a very debilitating situation we find ourselves.
Ms. Aruba said the incoming administration should fix the economy so that the wages of workers will have an impact on their lives.
Let the incoming administration put on their thinking cap, have the right personnel in place, and work towards ensuring that this economy that is in a mess, is properly channeled, so that whatever the workers are earning can make a meaning in their lives. So I think that is the most important thing for now. When they come and we look at the direction they're heading, we can now begin to say, okay, this and this are things to need to be done. But the first thing they must do to hit the ground running is to make sure that the economy, is put in the right direction.
Last week, the federal government paid a 40% increase in allowance to various categories of federal workers, but labor leaders say the pay rise has been lost to inflation. With just a few weeks to the end of the Buhari administration, the inflation rate is at 22%. Foreign exchange is at 737 naira to a dollar, even though official rates are 416 naira to a dollar. Unemployment is at 33.3%. Debt is 69 trillion and economic growth is at 3.1% despite the minimum wage being increased from 18,000 naira to 30,000 naira by the current administration. Moving on, the SDP governorship candidate in Rivers State, Magnus Abe, has withdrawn his petition against the victory of Siminalayi Fubara of the PDP from the Election Petition Tribunal. Senator Abe told newsmen that he decided to withdraw his petition for the interest of Rivers people. The SDP governorship candidate also dismissed claims by Governor Wike that he is demarketing Rivers State to gain appointment under the administration of the president-elect, Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Reacting to this, the PDP publicity secretary in Rivers State, Sidney Gbara, tells correspondent Emeka Otuka that the PDP is happy that Senator Abe has realized that Mr. Fubara won the March 18 governorship election in Rivers State. Mr. Agbara also called on other political parties and candidates to emulate the step taken by Senator Abe for the interest of the state.
I urge other candidates to take the same step, because we are not talking about Rivers State. We are no longer talking about a party, either PDP, SDP or APC. We are talking about Rivers State, the good of Rivers State.
In another development, the APC has invalidated the removal of Victor Gadam as chairman of the Zonal Executive Committee and Secretary Ita Udosen. The Zonal Executive Committee of the APC South had on Sunday removed Mr. Gadam and Mr. Udosen as chairman and secretary of the Zone's Executive Committee. The resolution was signed by Blessing Agbomere, acting Zonal Chairman, Zonal Organizing Secretary, Chief Edit Ita Asia, acting Zonal Secretary, Zonal Special Leader, and Ogbobodo, Zonal Leader Advisor. The other signatories were Ebimobowe Oyas, Zonal Youth Leader, and Mrs. Cynthia Princeville, Zonal Woman Leader. But a statement by the APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka says the action of the individuals in the name of the South-South Zonal Executive Committee is without lawful or constitutional authority and is therefore a nullity and should be disregarded. Mr. Moka says Victor Gadam remains chairman of the Zonal Executive Committee alongside the Secretary Ita Udosen. In the same vein, the South-South Zonal Publicity Secretary Dave Okungba said at no time did the zonal executives meet to resolve or decide to suspend any officer of the zonal executive. He said no zonal executive is under suspension. The chairman of Gokana Local Government Area, Confidence Decker, says areas that will likely be flooded have been identified and drainages have been constructed to mitigate the risk of flooding in the LGA. As you may know, Gokana LGA was listed as one of 15 local governments that will experience high-risk flooding this year in Rivers State. Mr. Decker tells correspondent Martha Okere that existing drainages have been desilted and the local government council has started making provisions to evacuate residents if the flooding becomes severe.
As we monitor, if it is such that we need to evacuate our people, we are making provision already for such a thing should it happen. But I should think that with what we have on ground, we are not going to be looking at that level of flooding in Gokana to the extent that we are going to be evacuating people. But we are already, we've been proactive. That is already there for us. But I think the construction of the drainages and then to distill the rest we have will help a great deal. And so it is our people to help us to help them to keep the drainages clean, keep the environment clean. And anytime they monitor the system to the extent that we give us any community at all, any set of people, any challenge, they shouldn't waste the time to get back to us so we are able to evacuate them.
The Council of Chief in Elekpokodu community of Rukbaku clan has called on the Rivers State government and other relevant government authorities to intervene in the land dispute between the community and Roma Olu town in Obiakpo local government area. Speaking on behalf of the council, Mr. Mekele Odu demanded that the Rivers State Surveyor General make available the survey plan upon which the Supreme Court delivered a judgment in 1961 for interpretation and sharing. Dr. Odu said the people of Romaolu do not have any boundary with Alu community in Ikwere LGA as claimed.
We are interested for the Surveyor General of Rivers State and every reasonable Nigerian to know that the land known as Umododoro Elewelibo, which a Supreme Court held in 1961, following a judgment of Savage in 1959. We want that land to be clearly marked out for our community because by the dispute survey plan, which they tendered before the court, they have Elepopodu community as their boundary neighbor to the north. And there is no how the same community you said is your boundary neighbor to the north, you will now invade their land and even far beyond, claiming to have boundary with Alo in Ikwere local government area. Let that dispute survey plan be made available.
On his part, the acting head chief of Elekpokodu community, Eze Chineke Mecha, appealed to the government to pay attention to the matter while noting that the people of Elekpokodu will resist attempts to compromise the land documents.
We don't want any problem. We obey the government rules, but government should do the needful. Let that 1961 document be properly interpreted. That's what we're after. Any compromise from our work from any corner concerning that document, because we will resist it totally. That's our position. The stupid area we are talking about is Omuele or Dorowelip. That is SB1 with the pink. So the Surveyor General should pay attention there and do the needful that side. Any other area is going, we are not with him and we will resist it. That's our position. The good people of Ekpokwado, we are not troublemakers. We don't want crisis. That's why we are shouting and crying. Let government pay attention.
Still ahead, Nigerians fleeing conflict in Sudan yet to arrive Nigeria days after evacuation started. Stay tuned as we go for a very short commercial break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. The Nigerian ambassador to Sudan, Safiu Olaniyan, says the embassy is waiting for clearance from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA on the buses, as well as the governments of Nigeria and Egypt to move the buses across the border. Ms. Olaniyan, in a voice message sent to the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, said the security clearance is what is needed for those at the borders of Sudan to move to Egyptian borders, and all that needs to be contacted has been done.
The present arrangement that appeared to have broken down was also midwifed in Nigeria. We are in contact with them to correct whatever is not right with the contract, because students cannot continue to live on the street. I want to assure you that we are as vulnerable as you are, and we are not going to leave until all of you have been moved to safety and to Nigeria.
He also spoke on rumors that the stranded Nigerians are planning to attack government officials.
So I am urging you not to take any action like I am hearing that you are planning to attack the family of officers. The officers and myself, we are all as vulnerable as you are. We have no food like you. We have no water like you. We have no light like you.
He also clarified that the embassy is not in charge of procuring the buses, but is only following instructions from the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry and NEMA.
The embassy is not in charge of the bus contracts. We have not received any money from anybody to hire buses. We are only arranging the logistics. Those who are arranging the buses are the Ministry of Humanitarian as well in Nigeria, as well as NEMA. So our own is to get the necessary instruction that this and this has been arranged, and that we should give instruction to the students to meet at so and so place. And that's, you are aware, we have been doing.
Meanwhile, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Nasser Sani Kwazo, says more money is needed for the evacuation of the stranded Nigerians from Sudan.
Do you know how much it takes to hire a bus from Khartoum to the border? $30,000 per bus. $30,000 per bus times 40 buses. Can somebody, any good mathematician amongst you?
1.2 billion.
That is not billion.
Million. Yes.
That is where your 1.2 million comes into.
Briefing newsman. Mr. Sani Guazo explained how the $1.2 million earmarked for the buses is being spent.
We now mobilized the first tranche approved by federal government out of this, which is $400,000, and transferred it. If you take out $400,000, what does it come to?
800,000.
No, 1/3.
Yes.
Of the total.
Yes.
Once they gave us 13 buses, 13 buses times $30,000 is how much? 390.
As you may know, no Nigerian fleeing the conflict in Sudan has been brought into Nigeria so far, days after the evacuation started. But in other countries like the UK, evacuation of over 1,800 of its citizens from Sudan has occurred. Germany and France have so far been able to bring about 1,700 of its citizens from war-torn Sudan. Saudi Arabia 3,000, Uganda 200, Palestine 200, Turkey 1,000, Egypt 436, and the US has been able to bring out 300 of its citizens from conflict-torn Sudan so far. A volunteer Christian organization in Port Harcourt, Read and Read Bible Enterprises, is inviting 100 intending participants from congregations to schools for their 2023 edition of Quarter 2 Read and Read Bible Contest. The contest, which involves Bible presentations from participants, is geared towards promoting Bible reading culture among youths, teenagers, and adults in Port Harcourt. Briefing newsman, the founder and CEO of Read and Read Bible Enterprises, Michael Ekperikpe, said each intending participant from a congregation or school has 5 slots for 3 youths or teenagers and 2 adults. He said youths and teenagers ahead of the contest are expected to read the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, while adults are to read a Christian worship book titled Unseasoned Worship. However, winners from each category will be tagged as the best Bible readers and receive a 120,000 naira stipend as part of encouragement. Speaking on the registration process, Mr. Michael said registration is free, but adult participants are required to buy the 1,000 naira brochure. All intending participants are expected to pay 500 naira accreditation fee on the day of the contest. He also said intending participants under the age of 10 will not be accredited. Online registrations can be done through www.readandread.org. The Bible contest is slated to hold from Saturday, June 3 at the Christian Council College Event Center, number 1 Elekaya Road by 9 a.m. and will be concluded on June 18, 2023 at the Cathedral of the United Evangelical Church, number 42 Arochukwu Street, Port Harcourt. Intended participants are expected to get copies of the adult book at the contest venue or call 0705 341 776 or 0813 867 6366.
And now we'll bring you news from around the world.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Turkish forces have killed the suspected leader of Islamic State in Syria. Abu Hussein al-Qurashi is said to have taken over the group after his predecessor was killed last autumn. On the news this morning, you heard Labour leaders have tackled the government as World Max Workers' Day. Rivers PDP is commending the SDP governorship candidate Magnus Abbey for dropping his petition at Rivers State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The APC has invalidated the suspension of the party's South-South Zonal Vice Chairman Victor Gadom. Nigerians fleeing the conflict in Sudan are yet to arrive Nigeria days after evacuation started. On the foreign scene, Turkey says its military have killed suspected leader of Islamic State in Syria. The news was edited by Chamezawan for cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this morning. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Kala Dakurubatabo. Good morning. Morning Crossfire continues with Ifemi Andrew. Stay tuned to 92.3 Nigeria Info. Happy Workers' Day to you.